Getting paid is exciting because it means I finally get to do my payday routine and budget my 1.3k paycheck for the upcoming month. I use a 50-30-20 budget spreadsheet, so once I insert my salary, I get my total budget for each type of expense. Then I move on to add my budget for all of my bills, which I split 50-50 with my boyfriend. Afterwards, I move on to budget all of my variable expenses, including my and my partner's joint account, my monthly nail appointment, health, random necessities, gifts for birthdays, graduations, and just because, and transportation. I take paying myself first as a very important step, so I make sure to allocate some money towards my sinking funds and investments. I noticed that I still had 60 euros left in my savings category, so I added that to my investment budget. And finally, I have budgeted my entire salary in a 50-30-20 proportion.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Profit Pulse, where we make money simple and smart. Today, we're breaking down one of the easiest ways to take control of your finances, the 50-30-20 budgeting rule. Whether you're trying to save more, spend smarter, or finally stop living paycheck to paycheck, this method is your blueprint to budgeting like a pro. So grab your notes, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to build a budget that actually works for you.
How to budget as a couple using this special 50-30-20 budgeting technique. First, write down what each person earns each month and split all the bills 50-50 like rent, food, and utilities. Then you want to put 30% towards your savings. Me and my boyfriend have been doing this saving challenge together to save towards our trip to Hawaii, and it helps motivate us seeing our progress as we go along. Lastly, put 20% towards your wants, like going out with your friends and buying new clothes and etc., and stay within your budget.
I'm gonna show you my budgeting template and you better freaking clap or else pregnancy for you. Bet you didn't see that coming. Pregnancy for you. Yeah, you want a baby? I didn't think so. So watch this. Okay, this is my Baddies on a Budget budgeting template. First of all, she's super pretty, her body T, and I think she's super easy to understand, but you guys will have to tell me if you feel like you understand this as I'm trying to explain it to you. But basically, you put in what your job is, if you have any side hustles, maybe you DoorDash, maybe you Uber, whatever the case may be, maybe you have like a little side business. If you have any other income, like you had gifts that month for your birthday or like cash back, you put all of those numbers in here, right? So this is just like a sample column. We say we made 2,000 off of our job, 70 off of the first side hustle, 200, so forth and so on. It gives you your total income, and then it splits it automatically into 50%, 30%, 20% of your total income for your needs, your wants, and your savings. Then you yourself in this category can like budget and plan for your month or your 2 weeks or however often you use it. So let's say your rent is $1,000, and then it'll tell you over here how much you have left to budget with. So you would only have $165 left to budget with. You would put the rest of that within your budget there. And then it also is kind of like an expense tracker. So you put how much you actually spent over here. So let's say you spent your $1,000 a month on your rent, but then you spent $200 on your groceries, right? And then you would continue to do your budgeting and your spending. I'm going to put in some like mock numbers so I can show you what I mean. Okay, so I plugged in all of the budget numbers, okay? And you can see that like budgeting wise, you're all good, right? You budgeted according to your budget. You actually get $6 left over of your budgeted money. However, spending wise, this is $200 and you budgeted for $165. Now, at the end of like the month or whatever you're budgeting for, there's a remaining overflow category that will show you if you went over budget or not for the month. However, it will also show you if you were under budget for the month. So let's say you only spent $100 on groceries. You had $65 left. And so the reason that I added that is because now when you budget for next month, you can either add $65 into your overflow for your source and budget with that $65 from last month, or you can add it in one of the expenses, like your debt pay. You can add it into that or something. That way you are budgeting accordingly and not like living above or below your means. Anyway, that's my template. I'm really proud of it. If you guys want it, it's in my bio, but let me know if that made sense and like that explanation makes sense, and clap because I'm so proud. It took me so long.
6 years ago, I started using the 50-30-20 budget. It totally changed the way that I handle my money. I think it'll do the same thing for for you. The three numbers add up to 100%. 100% is your paycheck. 50% goes to your needs, 30% goes to your wants or guilt-free spending, and then 20% goes to your savings or your future. Essentially, your paycheck gets broken up into three ways every time you get paid. I will give you the best visual example you'll ever see. $1,800 is your paycheck. Let's just say you multiply it by the percentages in decimal format. Take your paycheck, times it by 0.5, by 0.3, and by 0.2. So your three percentages, you would divide those up into different accounts. Now, if you've made it this far, that doesn't mean that your numbers have to be 50, 30, 20. A majority of us, our bills will not fit within 50%. So what can you do? You can move a section up, like your needs, but then also move down your spending or your savings. That's the beauty of it. It's going to equal to 100 regardless of how you do it. Real cheat code to this whole thing is the fact that you are saving the same amount of money every time you get paid, and you're doing it consistently, but your bills are also paid and you have guilt-free spending. It is probably the perfect budget.
It's payday today, so let's budget my September paycheck for the month of October. This includes my last 9 to 5 paycheck and side hustle income. And of course, I'm using my trusty budget tracker linked in my bio. Okay, so for taxes, I'm setting aside 45%. Now that I've started to earn these crazy amounts, I have to set this money aside. I keep it in a high yield savings account with easy access. In this case, because some of my income was done through PAYE with my full-time job, I'm just going to include the rest. So the amount that I have to set aside is around £3,585. Next up, essentials. I rent a 2-bed flat with my boyfriend, so we split bills 50-50, and rent comes to £1,250, water £33, electricity £47, and council tax £75. So all of my essentials total £1,405, plus my £10 phone bill. For groceries, I didn't spend much on this in September because I was on holiday, so I'm gonna budget $150 to be on the safer side. I use Emma to see all of my spending in one place because I use 2 different cards. It's just way easier. Next up is activities. I spent like £92 at Thorpe Park, so I'm gonna budget £100 for activities. Now that I'm self-employed, I'll have a lot more free time, and something that I love to splurge on is experiences, so this is really important for me. Eating out, my spending in September exceeded my budget a little bit. I'm going to budget £100 anyway. I think this is a decent amount to spend on eating out in a month. For transport, I actually spent £351 in September, which is insane, but some of this will be expensed because it was for a modelling shoot and various different reasons. Now that I'm not commuting, I will be saving £150 every month for commuting costs. Actually only budget like £100 at most. Next is shopping, discretionary spending. I only spent about £30, and this was actually on gifts for other people. And I plan to do the same thing in October. There's nothing that I really want to buy. I'll stick to a £30 budget here. Personal care, I spent £7 at Boots. Going forward next month, I'll probably budget £30. So that brings my total spending to £1,895. Which means a whopping £5,837 I can put into my savings and investments. As you guys know, I'm working towards early retirement and financial freedom, so this is really going to help. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like and follow for more content from me.
Alright, so if you've never had anybody teach you about finances, I'm going to explain the 50-30-20 rule pretty quickly. It's the bare minimum you need as far as establishing a budget. It's pretty simple. 50% of your income goes into your needs, 30% of your income goes into your wants, and 20% of your income goes into your savings and investment. But let's break down what that actually might look like. When it comes down to your needs, things that fall into that category would be things like your rent or mortgage, utilities, groceries, anything that is a necessary thing, including your insurances. And yes, your car too. Now the wants will be something like going out to eat or having a date or going to the movies or going shopping. Those are things like wants. And any other side investments that you want to do, this is where that 20% would come in handy. Again, this is just the bare minimum as far as establishing a budget, and you can change these numbers and percentages however you want to, but I like sticking with the 50-30-20 rule. If you want some more tips on financial literacy, then click that like button and click that follow.
If you struggle with knowing exactly how to budget your money, this video is perfect for you. Let's use a $35,000 salary as an example, which roughly breaks down to $2,500 a month after taxes. Using a template like this 50-30-20 budget breakdown that you can get in the That Budget Be Budget Planner linked to this video right here, let's see what you should be spending on all the different areas in life. The first section is needs. That's going to be 50% of what you bring home monthly. In this case, that would be $1,250. Next, we move on to wants, which is going to be 30% of your monthly income. And lastly, we're going to move into savings. And I also include debt, which is going to be 20% of your monthly income. Once you're done calculating exactly how much you should be spending in every category based on the 50-30-20 budget, you're going to add everything together. The thing about these budget breakdowns that are so helpful is that it gives you an idea of how much you could be or should be spending in different areas of your life. That being said, it doesn't always mean that it's realistic or even doable. So in our budget planner, we actually have more than just a 50-30-20 budget. We have a couple of others that you can play around with as well. At this point, once you've determined that your numbers numbers are actually correct, you're going to go into each category and then allocate money towards each subcategory. So as an example, in needs, you can see that you have your housing expense, utilities, healthcare, things like that. You're going to break that total number down and you're going to split it up against all of the subcategories in each of the columns. Now, if this just does not seem doable for you based on the 50-30-20 budget, we do definitely have the 70-20-10 and then an additional 70-25-5 that you can play around with. Try it out and have fun.
If you're always broke, living paycheck to paycheck, or simply just struggling with money, this budgeting for beginners method will change the game. My name's Crystal. I'm a surgery resident and MBA student, and I want to show you how I budget my real paycheck using the 50-30-20 rule. So using this method, 50% of your paycheck should go towards necessities such as housing, transportation, childcare, groceries, insurance, healthcare. 30% should go towards wants, so dining out, travel, entertainment, activities like that. And then 20% should go towards saving and debt repayment. So my bi-weekly paycheck after taxes is about $2,340. And then I automatically put $523 towards my retirement savings, and that's split between my 401k, my HSA, and my Roth IRA. That comes out to be about 22% savings. So then that leaves me with $1,170 per paycheck to go towards my necessities, and then $655 for my wants. I found myself always being broke or struggling with money when I wasn't tracking what I was spending and just swiping away. You need to use a budgeting app or a spreadsheet to really track every dollar that you're spending, because it'll allow you to really have more control over what you're spending without having to see a bill at the end of the month and having no means to pay it. Now I want to hear from you. What's your biggest money struggle right now? Drop it in the comments and I'll share some more money saving tips and strategies.
The 50-30-20 rule is outdated and needs a refresh. As much as I think millennials would love to, we unfortunately don't live in the same world that our parents did. I'm sure you've seen this, but this is the budget popularized by Senator Elizabeth Warren. And it was reasonable for the everyday person for them to actually meet their financial goals. Always get asked questions on how I started angel investing, and I don't have $1 million in my bank account. But as an accredited investor, I just chose to spend my money differently than some of my peers. Almost 20 years later, I am refreshing the 50-30-20 budget and creating the 50-20-20-10 budget. This is for anybody in their ownership era, anybody that wants to become hotter, smarter, and richer. It's holding you back if you are not investing in yourself and in your goals. I fundamentally believe that they are separate from your desires and your savings and your needs. Everybody has goals, so why are we not talking about budgeting towards your goals? If you're in your ownership or your hot, smart, rich era, or to come in my newsletter this week.
The 50-30-20 budget is a simple rule to help you reach your financial goals. Here's how it works. First, put your monthly income and put 50% towards your needs like housing, food, and transportation. Next, put 30% towards wants like dining out and shopping. Finally, put 20% towards your financial goals, and you repeat the process every month.
Become financially literate with me. I'm Aaliyah. I'm a 23-year-old from Canada who's becoming financially literate and sharing what I'm learning along the way. And today we're going to be talking about the basics of the 50-30-20 method. What the 50-30-20 method is putting 50% of your income towards your needs, 30% towards your wants, and 20% towards your investments and savings mostly for us to start. And why is this important? It's important because a lot of us are getting our paycheck or getting money and we don't know where it's going, but we know it's going, okay? And it's really important to put part of that money aside for savings and to make sure we have enough for our needs. Wants can be nice, vacation, trips, new products, those things. Okay, those are things we want, but they're not the things we need. We need to be secure in the present and we need to be secure in the future financially, and just like with peace of mind that we have shelter, a place to live, a place to stay. And, we're not hungry, okay? And that is such a privilege. So what you're gonna do is the next time you get your paycheck and you're able to put money aside, start doing that. That is the baseline to become more financially secure, more financially aware, and start tracking where your money is going, how you're spending it. Obviously, if you have any kind of debt or loans, your focus might be on that first, and that is understandable, but Once you have a baseline and you're able to allocate 20% to savings and to cover your needs, then you could focus on your wants, and using the 50-30-20 method is going to be really helpful for long-term growth and financial responsibility.
Welcome to the 50-30-20 budget rule. This is where you split your take-home pay into 3 categories. Those categories are as follows: 50% to your needs, things like rent, food, insurance, car repayments, debt repayments, childcare. These are your normal bills, your essentials. Your essentials are what you need to pay in order to continue living your normal basic life. The next category is 30% to our wants. So these are our non-essentials. This means subscriptions, takeaway, vacations, nice clothes, and tech upgrades. The next category is 20% to our savings. So this one is most important. This is where we get to build your wealth. So this is things like savings, emergency fund, house deposit, investments, and your superannuation or retirement fund. Comment down below your hourly rate, and I'm more than happy to complete the 50-30-20 rule for your current pay.
I don't like the 50-30-20 budget rule, and let me tell you why. If you didn't know, the 50-30-20 budget rule states that 50% should go to your needs, 30% should go to your wants, and 20% should go to savings and investing. The reason why I disagree with this is because people value different things. And also, it doesn't really account for debt payment. Instead of calling it 50-30-20, I think we should call it 80-20. 80% of income should be spent on whatever you want, including your needs, wants, and debt payoff, while 20% should be put into savings and investing. For people that live in a high cost of living, their rent may take up 50% of their income. And maybe they don't go out as much, so they don't mind spending 50% of their income on rent. I think as long as you can save and invest 20% of your income, it doesn't matter where the 80% is going. Your needs and wants can be split in different ways depending on what kind of lifestyle you want to live. How do you split up your budget? Let me know in the comments, and as always, follow me for more money tips.
So this is my 50-30-20 breakdown. My monthly income is $3,826, and that is a fixed income. I don't make any more or less than this. So the 50-30-20 rule has been around for a long time. What it means is that 50% of your income should go towards your needs, 30% of your income towards your wants, 20% of your income towards investing and saving. So let's start with my needs. This is my half of the rent. I spend $20 on laundry every single month. This is my Evergy bill, but it usually varies between $75 and $92. So I just put 80. For T-Mobile, I spend $157.28. Gas per month is around $67. That's what it was for the past 2 months, so that's why I put that there. My groceries cash limit is $360, so that's why I put that there. I usually spend a little bit less than this. To keep it simple, that's how much I put. So all of this added together is $1,084.28. So let's go down to wants. My wants, I only have Netflix. I don't have Hulu, Amazon Prime, all that stuff. I just have Netflix. My Apple subscription is my music. Chegg is for school. iCloud is for iCloud. My dining out cash limit is $200, and the reason why that's a little bit high is because me and my boyfriend go out on the weekends. That's like our quality time, so that's why it's $100 every 2 weeks, $200 a month. Miscellaneous, it's stuff like pens, Sharpies, sticky notes, cleaning supplies, stuff like that. So for a whole month, my cash limit is $220. So all of that combined is $454. Keep in mind that wants may fluctuate, especially with me, because sometimes I travel a lot more than I do one month than I do another month. For example, I'm going to be traveling a lot more these next couple months than I have been in the past few months. That number is obviously going to go up. I'm still very mindful about what I'm spending, and I always budget when I'm traveling. So moving on to investing, I invest $500 a month. I invest $300 at the beginning of the month, $200 at the end of the month. And then for my cash savings box, I have $200 every single month saved for that. So what I did to get my bank account savings, I added this number, added this number, added this number, added this number, and subtracted it by this number. And that's how much I leave in my bank account. And this also varies, keep that in mind. And I just realized I forgot to do the total, so I'm going to do that right now. Okay, so the total is $2,286.80. That's my monthly breakdown. Let's break down the 50-30-20. I already did the calculations in advance. If I spent 50% on my needs, I would be spending $1,913. My actual spend is $1,084.28. If I were to spend 30% on my wants, I would be spending $1,147.80 on wants, but I spend a total of $454.92. Keep in mind that varies, like I said, it fluctuates depending on the month and how much I travel. But this is normally around the amount that I spend. If I invested and saved 20%, that would be $765.20 of my overall check. So what I really spend is I spend 28.34% of my entire check on my needs. I spend 11.89% of my check on my wants. Then I invest and save 59.76% for my future self. The reason why I included these numbers is because these are what it would be if I followed that, but my bills aren't super high for what I make, and I limit my wants so that I can invest and save more. So although the 50-30-20 rule is great, especially for people starting to budget, I've definitely tailored up my wants so that I can improve with my investing and saving. And that's my 50-30-20 breakdown.
This is how much money you need to save from your paycheck so you won't go broke using the 50-30-20 method. I'm a 37-year-old self-made millionaire and former public school teacher, and I'm going to teach this to you because school should have taught this to us. 1. Go to My Money cheat sheet and click on the Budget Allocation tab. 2. Type in your monthly after-tax income here. If you make $3,000 a month, you should put around $1,500 into needs, $900 into wants, and $600 into savings, investing, or debt repayment. This is for people who make $4,000 a month, $5,000 a month, and this is for people who make $6,000 a month. Comment budget calculator and I'll send you the link to download this. Hi, my name's Steve. Follow to see my next financial education video because all of this should have been taught to us in school. I hope this video helps.
The 50-20-30 rule. 50% or less of your $1,000 that you make after taxes, so the money that actually hits your bank account, should go to your essentials. That's the roof over your head, electricity bill, grocery bill, and it's your transportation to and from work. You could live off that alone. 20% or more goes to the future. That's savings. That goes into your 401k. That goes into your emergency savings. 30% or less is your lifestyle, shopping, going out to eat, and that is living within your means.
And that's how you budget like a pro using the 50-30-20 rule. If this helped you get clearer on where your money's going, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and share it with someone who needs a little budgeting boost. Subscribe to Profit Pulse for more smart money tips and financial freedom strategies. Remember, it's not about having more money, it's about managing what you have better. This is Profit Pulse. Stay smart, stay steady, stay profitable.